She is looking at you right now, and you have no idea what she is thinking. You are standing in the Louvre Museum in Paris. The room is crowded. People are pushing gently behind you, phones raised above their heads, all trying to get closer. The air smells of warm bodies and old stone, and there she is, behind thick, bulletproof glass, smaller than you imagined, darker than the pictures, watching you with that expression. Is she happy? Is she sad? Is she hiding something? My friends, here is a truth that will surprise you. For nearly 200 years after Leonardo da Vinci painted her, almost nobody talked about this painting. It hung quietly on walls. It moved from room to room. Nobody called it the greatest painting in the world. Nobody wrote poems about her smile. So what changed? What turned a quiet portrait into the most famous image on earth? The answer involves a stolen morning, a heartbroken thief, and a secret hidden beneath the paint itself. Today, we go behind the glass. Today, we find out who she really was and why she will not stop looking at us. Leonardo da Vinci was, by most accounts, a terrible employee. He was brilliant. Yes, he could paint, sculpt, design buildings, study the human body, and imagine flying machines 500 years before airplanes existed. But he had one very serious problem. He could not finish things. He would begin a painting full of energy, full of fire, and then abandon, leave it, sometimes for years. He left paintings half done. He left sculptures barely started. The people who paid him for work waited and grew frustrated and angry. So when a wealthy silk merchant from Florence named Francesco del Giocondo asked Leonardo to paint a portrait of his young wife in the year 1503, nobody expected anything special. It was simply a job. A man wanted a picture of his wife, normal, ordinary. But Leonardo was ordinary, and he could not stop. He painted her. Then he looked at her. Then he painted her again. He worked on this portrait for 4 years. He changed her expression. He changed the light. He softened the edges of her face until the shadows looked almost like breathing. A technique, a special method, that Leonardo invented himself, called sfumato. Sfumato means smoky in Italian. It means the colors blend into each other with no hard lines, like shapes seen through morning mist. Francesco del Giocondo never received the painting. Leonardo kept it. He carried it with him everywhere he went, to Milan, to Rome, and finally to France, where he spent the last years of his life. Some historians believe Leonardo felt this painting was unfinished. Some believe he simply loved it too much to give it away. Can you imagine working on something for 4 years and still not feeling it was complete? Can you imagine that kind of obsession, that burning need to make something perfect? Her name was Lisa, and she was not a queen, not a goddess, not a princess. She was Lisa Gherardini, born in Florence in 1479, the daughter of a modest family. At 15, she married Francesco del Giocondo, a cloth merchant. She had 5 children. She lived a quiet life in a city of merchants and artists. When she came to sit for Leonardo in his studio, she was probably in her mid-20s. The room would have been cool and stone-floored. The smell of oil paint and linseed, a plant oil used to mix paint, would have filled the air. According to historical accounts, Leonardo hired musicians to play soft music while Lisa sat because he wanted her expression to stay alive, to stay warm, to stay present. Picture her sitting there, back straight, hands folded, listening to the soft sound of a lute, an old stringed instrument, while a strange, brilliant, left-handed genius studied her face with an intensity, a focused, burning concentration that most people never experience in their entire lives. What was she thinking? What was she feeling under that famous, almost smile? She died in a convent in Florence in 1542, quiet and largely forgotten. She had no idea that her face would one day hang in the most visited museum in the world. She had no idea that millions of people would stand before her image, whispering questions she cannot answer. On the morning of August 22, 1911, a museum guard walked past an empty wall, and the world stopped breathing. The Mona Lisa was gone. The theft, the stealing, of the Mona Lisa caused a shock that spread across the entire globe. Newspapers printed the story on their front pages. The French government was humiliated, deeply embarrassed. The Louvre closed for 1 week. Police questioned over 60 people, including, remarkably, the young Pablo Picasso. But the man responsible was someone almost nobody suspected. His name was Vincenzo Peruggia. He was an Italian handyman, a worker who did small repair jobs, who had previously worked inside the Louvre. He knew the building. He knew the routines. On a Sunday night, he hid inside the museum. He waited in a dark storage closet, barely breathing, until the building emptied. Then, in the blue-gray light of Monday morning, he walked to the painting, lifted it from its hooks, tucked it under his white workman's coat, and walked out of a side door. Just like that, she was gone. Peruggia kept the Mona Lisa hidden under his bed in a small Paris apartment for 2 years. He believed, genuinely, deeply believed, that the painting belonged in Italy. He thought he was performing an act of patriotism, love and loyalty for his country. He wanted to bring Lisa Gherardini home. When he finally tried to sell the painting to an art dealer in Florence in 1913, he was arrested immediately. He went to prison, and the Mona Lisa went back to Paris. But here is the extraordinary thing, my friends. Here is the twist that history delivered. Because of the theft, because of the 2 years of global panic and newspaper coverage and public obsession, the Mona Lisa became immortal. Immortal means living forever, never dying. Before the theft, she was respected but not worshipped. After the theft, she was a legend. Vincenzo Peruggia, the man who tried to free her, was the man who made her eternal, lasting forever, beyond time. What if the Mona Lisa you see today is not the Mona Lisa Leonardo first painted? Scientists have aimed, pointed, infrared cameras and X-ray machines at the painting. And what they found beneath the surface is extraordinary. There are at least 3 different versions of the face hidden under the paint we can see. Leonardo repainted her eyebrows. He raised her neckline. He adjusted the position of her fingers. He changed the landscape behind her again and again. The smile you see is perhaps the 4th or 5th smile Leonardo painted over the others. Think about that. Under the surface of the most famous smile in history, there are other smiles, older smiles, hidden in the dark, in the layers of paint, frozen in time like whispers that never became words. Most people assume the Mona Lisa belongs to Italy, but it has lived in France for over 500 years. Leonardo himself brought the painting to France in 1516, when the French king Francis I invited him to live at the royal court. Leonardo was 64 years old, his right hand partially paralyzed, unable to move fully, but his mind still burning. He died in France 3 years later, in 1519, in a small castle called Clos-Lucé. The painting passed to the French royal collection. King Francis I hung it in his bathroom, not because he did not value it, but because he wanted to see great beauty every day, in an ordinary moment. Later, Napoleon Bonaparte hung it in his bedroom in the Tuileries Palace. He called it magnificent, meaning extraordinarily beautiful and impressive. He was not wrong. It survived the French Revolution. It survived 2 world wars, carried in secret to safe locations across France, wrapped in velvet and hidden in wooden crates. Each time, someone risked their life to carry her to safety. She has been a symbol, a powerful image representing something larger than itself, of survival, of beauty, of human stubbornness in the face of destruction. Here is what I believe, and tell me if you feel this too. The Mona Lisa is not really a painting about a woman. It is a painting about a question. The question is this: what is another person truly feeling deep inside, beneath the surface of their face? We ask this question every single day. We look at the faces of people we love and wonder, are they really happy? Are they hiding pain? What is behind that smile? Lisa Gherardini sat in a cold studio 500 years ago and held an expression that nobody, not Leonardo, not historians, not scientists with their X-ray machines, has ever fully decoded, fully understood and explained. And that mystery, that beautiful and slightly frustrating mystery, is exactly why we cannot look away. We live in a world of faces now. Photographs, videos, social media, millions of faces every day. And still, the face that stops us completely is 500 years old, painted with smoky edges, smaller than a laptop screen, behind bulletproof glass in a crowded room in Paris. Because she is asking us the same question we are asking her. What are you really feeling? What are you hiding behind your smile? My friends, the next time someone smiles at you and you are not quite sure what the smile means, remember Lisa. Remember that mystery is not always a problem to solve. Sometimes, mystery is what keeps us leaning forward. It is what keeps us looking. It is what keeps us, even after 500 years, still standing in front of a painting and feeling something we cannot name. May you always find beauty in the questions you cannot answer, and may you carry your own quiet mystery, the one that makes people look twice, with grace.